Absolutely horrible decision by the NBA. As most of us know, the New York Knicks filed a protest with the NBA over their loss to the Houston Rockets due to a referee error. But unfortunately, we just learned that the NBA has denied the request from the New York Knicks. We're going to break down what the official report said and also break down how the Knicks could have won that decision. All of this and so much more today. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. And make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. The NBA makes a horrible but obvious choice with the New York Knicks and their protest for their loss with the Houston Rockets. Before we break down how I feel about it and the decision overall, let's go ahead and take a look at the official release by the NBA on this situation. According to the NBA Communications, here's the official report word for word from the NBA. New York Knicks, game protest denied. Denied. Crazy. New York, February 28th, 2024. The NBA today denied the New York Knicks protest of their 105 to 103 loss to the Houston Rockets on February 12th, 2024. The Knicks protested the result of the game on the grounds that a shooting foul was called incorrectly on the Knicks' Jalen Brunson for making contact with the Rockets' Aaron Holiday during the last-second shot attempt. Because the foul call at issue reflected an error in judgment, New York did not demonstrate a misapplication of the playing rules, and the extraordinary remedy of upholding a game protest was not warranted. That was the official statement from the NBA. When I read it, was not surprised. Was I angry? Of course I was, just a little bit. We needed that game. Every game counts. Would I have liked to do that game over again in overtime, whatever the case may be? Absolutely. I think the Knicks probably could have won it at that point in time, depending on who they had available and who was healthy. So you never know what could happen in this NBA. You obviously want things to swing in the New York Knicks' favor, but things don't happen that way often. And this is just another prime example of that exact fact. The New York Knicks did not win this protest. But again, why didn't they win this protest? The last time an NBA protest like this was approved was the Shaquille O'Neal situation when he was back with the Miami Heat. And when that happened, the reason that they were able to redo that play or that game between the Heat and the Hawks was because there was an issue with the misapplication of the rules. They believed Shaq had fouled out, but he didn't. He only had 5 fouls, so he could have continued playing, but he didn't play, and obviously the Heat lost that game. So they redid it. Even though when they redid it, the situation remained unchanged, regardless, the reason it was approved was, again, a misapplication to the rule. And that's exactly what NBA insider Ian Begley said here in his following tweet. According to Begley, to win the protest, New York had to show a misapplication of playing rules, not just error in judgment by refs. NBA said foul on Brunson was a reflection of error in judgment, not misapplication of the rules. Shout out to NBA insider Ian Begley for not only agreeing with my point, but also helping me double down on the fact that the reason the Knicks didn't win this is because they could not show a misapplication of that rule, of the NBA, of something like that. And I knew as soon as they submitted this protest that was going to happen, because I remember the last time a protest was won with the Heat. I remember how that was won, and I knew there was no circumstance at this point in time with this game against the Rockets that could warrant that. Even though I desperately wanted it, because I think, like I said before, the Knicks need every single game. Every game matters. Every game counts. Because look at the Eastern Conference. Have you taken a look at it? The Eastern Conference, about maybe from 2 to 7, is about 1 or 2 games in between that could shift everything. So potentially, if you lose 2 games, you could go from the 3 seed to the 7 seed. That's how close of a race it is. Losing a game to the Houston Rockets, a winnable game, a game we honestly should have won. It hurts. And we could have used that victory given the fact that we're losing games right now because we're trying to float along until we get healthy. Floating along means you have to take every single game seriously, and you have to make sure that if you can win a game, you'll win them. And if you can get a win, You fight to get those wins. So I have no problem with Tom Thibodeau and the New York Knicks protesting that particular loss and trying to go ahead and get that win back. No issue with that. And I think it sends more of a message to the league that they're not going to take it. Not only the Knicks, but no team. Look at what happened with the Detroit game. Now, I can say this as a Knicks fan. I love that the Knicks won that game. I'm happy we got the W. I'm not looking back at anything. Sorry, Detroit, it happened to you. It happened to the Knicks too. Look at the Houston game we're talking about right now. But clearly, as Monty Williams stated once that game ended, he said, one of the worst calls of the season. Go back and look at what the New York Knicks fans were saying once the Knicks lost that Houston Rockets game. One of the worst calls of the season. Trust me, we've all felt that. In a kind of ironic way, this is how maybe the Knicks got their get back. Even though you don't want to do that against a team like the Detroit Pistons, you don't want to have to do that against the Pistons. But either way, we didn't lose that game against the Pistons. We won it, even though it was kind of clear that Dante DiVincenzo absolutely fouled that kid. But it's okay. Like I said before, it all comes around full circle. The Knicks did not get the call against Houston, but they got it against Detroit. I don't like that. I wish the officiating was a little bit better. In my opinion, again, this is just my opinion on this situation. I feel like this season, and I've been watching basketball for about 20 to 25 plus years now, and I can honestly say this is probably the worst officiating year of basketball that I've seen in my life. The number of blown calls, missed free throws that somebody should have had but couldn't get because they weren't able to get to the line because no foul was called. And it's the consistency of the game in general. It feels like the game isn't called fairly from start to finish. If you're going to call the game physically, then call it physically throughout the entire game. Don't do that in the first quarter and then don't do it in the fourth quarter. It doesn't make sense. Don't do it for one team and not do it for another. It doesn't make sense. Call it fair, but call it consistently. Come together and say, you know what? Tonight, I want to have a better application of the NBA rules, so we're going to call it tighter. And then that's fine. Call it tight the entire game both ways. Or if you want to be a little bit more loose with it, we're on prime time. You want to make sure that these two teams don't have an issue in terms of physicality because we know they play physical. We know a Knicks team plays physical, so we don't want to blow the whistle too many times. Let them play physical then, but call it consistently physical throughout the entire game. Stop changing it. And stop listening to all these players complain so much. You know what you should do? You should stop the players complaining as much and call the game as you see fit. Just call it consistently. Tom Thibodeau says the same thing. I don't care what you call. Just call it consistently. That's what we've been missing this entire season. Referees' consistency. Adam Silver really has to look into this. I'm sorry. I'm not one to speak about referees, their issues, and all the things they go through. I've been doing this for so long now. And I can't remember the last time that I've had to do consecutive videos about issues with officiating. It's so funny and ironic to me that the NBA releases this report for the Knicks basically in the same week that Detroit situation happens. So ironic. You can't make these things up. Either way, in my opinion, and I think a lot of Knicks fans and a lot of NBA fans in general would agree, we want the NBA officiating to be better. And I think it's up to Adam Silver, the NBA as a whole, to look at the officiating, judge what they are seeing, and try to step in and make positive changes. And if we can do that consistently headed into the postseason, not only the Knicks, but every single NBA team will benefit. And of course, every single NBA fan will benefit as well too, because they'll see high-level competitive games that are officiated well. And at the end of the day, isn't that all we want to see? Either way, horrible decision by the NBA, but like I said at the top of the show, it was obviously expected, but still, we need every victory. I wish we could have got this victory, at least a chance to do it over again. But either way, it didn't work in this favor for the New York Knicks this time. Maybe next time it does. Who knows? But until next time, Knicks fans, I want to hear from you guys right now. Leave a comment below and let me know below. What do you think about this situation with the New York Knicks? Were you surprised by it? Or like me, was it an obvious expectation given how that game ended and the fact that we all knew it was human error and not a misapplication of the rules? Let me know in the comments below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below, and of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.